And here was Swami, he was the host. He would go from one group to the other, trying to fit into that group. So when we first come to Swami, the first step is make Swami's words one of these Shabda Pramanas. I do not have a direct proof. It does not really come into my reasoning too, but I trust Swami. I take his word for it. So if Swami says, I want you to follow these simple, let's say I want you to be a vegetarian, I don't want you to smoke, I don't want you to drink. I may not have a direct means of proving why it is right or wrong or how it can affect me spiritually. But Swami says so I accept it. It becomes a Shabda Pramana. But the problem with Swami becoming a Shabda Pramana is, let's say, today Einstein came and gave me a theory. He says, this is how an atom looks. So that becomes a Shabda Pramana to me. I take his word for it. Tomorrow another scientist comes who seems to be more intelligent than Einstein, and he tells me, no, the structure of the atom is like this. No, I have two Shabda Pramanas which are contradictory, and I'll be confused, or I'll have to choose one over the other. If I relegate Swami only to Shabda Pramana, I will constantly keep reviewing what he says. I will constantly try to reason out, did Swami say because of this? Did Swami say because of that? That's what I'm doing right now. Right? There is a word which actually we don't have to reason about at all, but here I am trying to reason it out. Because if Swami's word is only kept in the realm of Shabda Pramana or an advice from a person whom I trust, then I will start reviewing it. Tomorrow a scientist comes and tells me something, oh, but Swami told like this, but science says this. Tomorrow some other guru comes and says something, oh, Swami said like this, but this guru is more logical. When Swami inaugurated the super specialty hospital and Swami conducted the first cardiac conference, I think. I hope I'm getting that right. First cardiac conference in the year 91 or 92. Swami had the sessions in the university auditorium. Swami would keep them all there. And Swami gave an inaugural discourse when he started off. And they had the best cardiac surgeons from around the world attending that conference. They got the best of the best in the country and around the world. And there were these host of scientists, great luminaries in the field sitting in front of Swami. And Swami is giving a discourse. And Swami starts speaking about cholesterol, heart. And Swami starts making a few statements which are a little disagreeable to the scientific community. So till that point, they were listening to Swami with respect. But the moment Swami started telling these things which do not fit into their reasoning, they said, okay, seems to be a good man, but he's got it all wrong. He's a good-minded individual, but has no idea of, cardiology. So the discourse was over, the inaugural session was over, and there was a break which was there, a tea session that Swami had organized, and Swami had called all the MBA students to serve during that break. So counters were set up, the MBA students were there behind the counters, and then these doctors had formed small groups, like, wherever you go to an academic conference, the doctors started forming groups and they started discussing their academic prowess and all of that. And here was Swami, he was the host. He would go from one group to the other, trying to fit into that group. And here were all these cardiologists who had heard Swami make some ridiculous statements according to them. They would look at Swami and give him a nod and continue their discussion. And it was a very odd scene. Here are these people, Swami standing there in front of them, hoping to get into that conversation. And the boys were there standing and serving. They felt very, very bad seeing this scene. They felt very hurt. Do they have any idea? How are they treating Swami like this? And Swami was going from group to group, and Swami sensed what was going through the minds of these students. It was shown on their faces. They were all angry. The faces had become small. And Swami very gently walks up to them. And Swami sweetly says, It's okay, boys, it's okay. They don't know Swami is God. It's okay, forgive them. They don't know Swami is God. What an important statement it is. What happens when you know, when you remember, when you never forget that Swami is God? I use the word pramana, means of knowledge. Swami often speaks about this, one of the most beautiful names which were given to God in Vedanta. It's called Aprameya. Aprameya means one who is beyond all the pramanas. One who is beyond all reason, one who is beyond all direct perception. So Swami says God is actually Aprameya, which means you have to take Swami's word and raise it above our reason, above our understanding, and above all the words anybody else can come and tell us, however logical it might seem. Anybody can come and tell us, this is what spirituality is. We should be able to go back to Swami's words and say, no, what Swami says is ultimate. I may be able to understand it, I may not be able to understand it. Most of the time we will not be able to understand it, but Swami has said it, so it is. Which means you are lifting Swami, and that is true surrender. From obedience, if we have to raise ourselves to surrender, it is when we raise Swami's words from the level of Shabda Pramana to the level where it truly belongs, which is the state of Aprameya. He is beyond reason, he is beyond perception in all of that.